In hardcore World of Warcraft, add-ons can be a super helpful tool that can greatly improve your chances of survival during your adventures around Azeroth. Here's a list of the 15 best add-ons for hardcore classic WoW that you should definitely be using to easily hit max level. Also, this list is focused mostly on add-ons that actually have a helpful application in hardcore, not just convenience or UI add-ons that are pretty common. Also, before the video starts, if you are a fan of hardcore classic content, make sure to subscribe to see more videos from me in the future. Anyways, onto the video. First up is probably one of, if not the single most important add-on for hardcore in my opinion, and that is the Unitscan Hardcore add-on. This will essentially warn you whenever a particularly dangerous enemy is nearby, be it a patrol or just a normal elite. This is super useful in preventing yourself from being snuck up on, and can save you dozens of times if you tend to not pay close attention to your surroundings at all times. It even has tools to warn you of griefing in places like major cities too, which is pretty nice. You can also toggle which mobs you want to be warned of, or not, in the interface, which is pretty nice once you outlevel most enemies. Next is a very well-known hardcore add-on, and that is Deathlog. Everybody playing hardcore should have this add-on, not only so you can see how other players die, but also to help you easily know ahead of time where the dangerous areas are and what the dangerous enemies are in them. This add-on tracks the deaths of players on your realm and has thousands of deaths worth of data. The add-on uses this data to create heat maps of where a lot of players die, which is extremely helpful if you are unfamiliar with certain areas or zones, letting you know to be cautious before even going there. Also, this records how every player dies and can display the kill counts for all the mobs in the game by zone and instance. Another add-on I would say is almost essential is Classic Beastiary. This add-on will tell you all the abilities a mob has at the bottom right of your screen when you hover over them, and it can explain what these abilities do. This is super helpful if you don't want to look everything up on Wowhead, because odds are you will encounter a lot of enemies with dangerous abilities you don't know of, and this add-on lets you be prepared and plan ahead. Next, we have some pretty minor but very useful add-ons. First is Classic Casybars, which will simply show you a target cast bar when they are casting a spell. This is super useful for interrupting certain abilities in the world or in dungeons like polymorphs or heals, both of which can make your life much harder than it needs to be. Next, we will talk about two that work very well in tandem, and those are Classic Aura Durations and OmniCC. The Prior will show you all the buffs and debuffs placed on the enemy under their portrait, and show debuffs on your party members on their party frames. OmniCC will display a timer for all of these buffs and debuffs, letting you know how long they will last. This is super useful for knowing when your slows or CC will break, which can be really important for kiting and running when in a sticky situation. It can also let you know when enemies have enrages up, which can be very helpful to know. Having the party debuffs is also very useful for things like dispelling or decursing in dungeon or raid groups. OmniCC also can tell you your ability cooldowns in seconds, which is way easier to read than the traditional cooldown signifiers. Then we have Baganator, which is just an add-on that combines all of your bags into a single inventory. Additionally, it has a function to see your bank, your inventories on other characters, a search bar, and a sorting feature. This is a super useful add-on that lets you swiftly find things in your bag and can be really helpful when trying to find items you forgot to put on your hotbar, like certain potions or consumables. Also, always use this add-on instead of Bagnon when playing hardcore, as there is a reoccurring bug with Bagnon that will sometimes not let you use any consumable items in your bag, including things like hearthstones, which is really bad for obvious reasons. Next is either threat plates or threat meter. Basically, any threat add-on actually. And this is because threat is probably the most important thing to look out for in group content, especially as a DPS. These add-ons will tell you how close you are to pulling threat on the targeted enemy, and this is really important to make sure you don't gain aggro on a very hard-hitting mob and get one shot, or hit your entire group with a boss frontal or AoE. Continuing, we have Weak Auras, a super useful, customizable, and flexible add-on that can do a lot of different things. To use this add-on, all you have to do is go in the in-game window for it, and then look up the specific kind of Weak Aura you want, and copy-paste the import string into the add-on's import window. Weak Auras can be used for so many different things, And some of the particularly useful ones for hardcore would be things like lava jump bars, a MP5 tick bar, and an energy tick bar, or more. Then we have a super useful guide that is both good for speed leveling and surviving, which is Rested XP. This is basically an entire step-by-step guide on the steps to take to quest safely and efficiently all the way to max level. This has guides for every race and level bracket, and there are guides for both speedrunning and hardcore survival. The hardcore guide is actually quite helpful and will tell you what to be cautious of and what you can skip if needed. The only problem with this add-on is that after the first 20 levels or so, you have to pay for the rest of the guide, which not everybody can afford, which is understandable. Personally, I don't use this add-on because I prefer to be more loose with my leveling routes, and I already know most quests to be careful of, but for new players this can actually be super helpful. Next is a very well-known add-on, and that is Deadly Boss Mods, or DBM. Most WoW players know what this does, but if you don't, it essentially will tell you the mechanics for dungeon and raid bosses, and when to do things like run away, move, or interrupt. This is just a good add-on to have for doing mechanics you don't know, or mechanics you don't remember. The next add-on is Target Health, which just shows enemy health bars with values or percentages. This is pretty simple, but can be really helpful for letting you know how close an enemy is to dying and if one or more attack or spell will kill an enemy or not. This is kind of a small thing, but it can save you in very certain situations, and it's better to have it than not. Next is Weapon Swing Timer, a very useful add-on for both normal and hardcore classic, which will display a bar showing you when your next auto attack is ready and how long for the next one to charge up. This is really strong for classes that use slower weapons and need to kite, like warriors, hunters, or shamans. Having a swing timer and using it properly can greatly reduce the amount of damage you take in some combats and can make otherwise hard fights quite trivial. Continuing, we have Leatrix, particularly Leatrix Maps, but also Leatrix Plus, which is also very helpful. This add-on is a very good quality of life convenience mod, but for hardcore in particular, Leatrix Maps is really good since it can let you move your map and reduce its opacity, letting you easily see your surroundings while checking your map. There are so many clips I've seen of people looking at their map auto-walking, where they just walk into dangerous patrols and die. The upgraded map features are definitely underappreciated for this add-on, and I highly recommend using this if you aren't already. Finally, we have Maxcam, a pretty straightforward add-on that will allow you to greatly increase how far you can zoom out your camera, which is super helpful in increasing your awareness of your surroundings and preventing you from getting snuck up on. And that concludes 15 of the best add-ons for hardcore classic WoW. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more WoW content. If there are any add-ons you like to use, mention them in the comments below. Anyways, I'm out.